Hi there, I have a thought for the day, and this thought comes from the Life and Teachings of the Masters of the Far East, Book 1, Volume 1. And I'm reading from page 10. There's so many things in this series of books that I'll probably be reading, stuff from them for a while. So there's a group of people that were working in India. They were on some sort of project. And so he starts at this point. He says, we had been in India about 2 years doing regular routine research work when I met the master known in these writings as Amal. While walking along a street in the city where we were staying, my attention was attracted to a crowd. I saw the center of interest was one of the street magicians or fakirs that are so common in that country. As I stood there, I noticed beside me an elderly man who was not of the same caste as those about him. He looked at me and asked if I had long been in India. I replied, about 2 years. He asked, are you English? I answered, American. I was surprised and very much interested to find one who spoke English. I asked him what he thought of the performance going on, and he answered, oh, it's a common occurrence in India. These fellows are called fakirs, magicians, and hypnotists, and they're all that the name implies, but underneath it all, is a deeper spiritual meaning that few discern, and good will come of it someday. It is but the shadow of the thing from which it sprang. It has caused a great deal of comment, and those commenting upon it never seem to have reached the true meaning, for there certainly is a truth underneath it all. Here we parted, and I saw him only occasionally during the next 4 months. Our expedition was confronted by a problem which gave us a great deal of trouble. In the midst of our worries, I again met Emil. Immediately, he asked what was bothering me and began talking about our problem. I wondered at this, for I felt that none of our party had mentioned it outside of our little circle. His familiarity with the situation was such that I felt the whole matter was known to him. He explained that he had a certain insight into the affair and that he would endeavor to help. Within a day or two, the matter was cleared up, leaving us without a problem. We wondered at this, but with other things to occupy our time, we soon forgot. As other problems came up, it became a habit for me to talk them over with Emil. It seemed that as soon as I discussed our troubles with him, they would cease to exist. My associates had met and talked with Emil, but I had said little to them about him. By this time, I had read a number of books on Hindu lore selected by Emil, and I was fully convinced that he was one of the adepts. My curiosity was keenly aroused, and I was becoming more deeply interested each day. One Sunday afternoon, Emil and I were walking in a field when he called my attention to a pigeon circling overhead. And casually, he remarked that the bird was looking for him. He stood perfectly still, and in a few moments, the bird alighted upon his outstretched arm. He said the bird has a message from his brother in the north. This proved to be a fellow worker who had not yet reached the attainment whereby he could communicate direct, so he took this means, talking to the bird, getting the bird to deliver the message. We later found that the masters are able to communicate with each other instantly. by thought transference, or as they call it, a force much more subtle than either electricity or wireless. I then began to ask questions, and Amos showed me that he was able to call the birds to him and direct their flight while they were in the air, that the flowers and the trees would nod to him, that wild animals would come to him fearlessly. He parted 2 jackals that were fighting over the body of a smaller animal that they had killed and were feeding upon. When he approached them, they stopped fighting and they put their heads in his outstretched hands in perfect trust, and then resumed their meal in quiet. He even gave me one of the young wild creatures to hold in my hand. And then he said to me, "This is not the mortal self, you see, that is able to do these things. It is a truer, deeper self. It is what you know as God, God within me, God the omnipotent one working through me, that does these things. Of myself, the mortal self, I can do nothing. It's only when I get rid of the outer entirely and let the actual, the I am, speak and work and let the great love of God come forth that I can do these things that you have seen. When you let the love of God pour through you to all things, nothing fears you and no harm can befall you." So as you go through your day, think about that great mystery, the God within, the God that you're made of. Let that God, the I am, flow through you. Just practice. See what happens. And let that love change you and how you see the world. But most of all, let yourself feel the security of that great love, that great God, keeping you safe from everything. And have a great day.